Oh, Keith is ready.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. This is our weekly show where we talk about out-of-the-box concepts in SharePoint and Office 365. I'm Laura Rogers, and this is my team from Rackspace Hosting. SharePoint Power Hour is every Wednesday at 11 Central, and it's all about things that you can do without having to do a lot of custom programming, a lot of custom server admin stuff. Just more out-of-the-box things that you can do in SharePoint and Office 365. We're going to do a tiny bit of central admin stuff today, but mostly that's for informational purposes, because every now and then I like to show you, the business user or the site manager, things that exist in central admin that you might not necessarily know about, so that it's at least something you'll know that exists so that you can go ask your server admin. But we're going to talk about audiences today and what they are and all the different places that they can be used in, again, SharePoint and Office 365 in enterprise version of both of those. So I'm the one that's going to be doing today's demo. Happy 4th of July week, everyone. And we'll let the team, everybody who's here today, we'll go through and introduce ourselves and little quick bio information. So I'm just going to go through you guys in the order that I see you at the bottom of the screen: Jason, Joelle, Kevin, and Ryan.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Himmelstein, and happy July 1st MVP Renewal Day for all the new and renewed MVPs out there. Congratulations to those new folks and to all the folks who are getting renewed. I am a SharePoint MVP. My renewal is in January, so New Year's Day is always fun for me. But I am the Office 365 Advisory Services Manager here at Rackspace. And it's also NBA Free Agency Day, hence the Spurs shirt today. So,
let's see. Actually, Joelle, I think you're next. Joelle, then Kevin, then Ryan, then Tanya.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Joelle Farley, and I am a SharePoint consultant on the Business Solutions team here at Rackspace. I've been with Rackspace a couple of years and have worked with SharePoint for about 7 or 8 years now. And I am very much looking forward to this holiday weekend, and hopefully you guys are as well.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hughes, SharePoint architect here on Laura's team. I'm based out of Kansas City, and my role here is to work with our clients to figure out exactly what SharePoint needs they have, design the solution, work with the rest of our team to get it implemented and get her done.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Keller. I am the branding guy on the team here. So as you might expect, my role consists of branding SharePoint and making it look a little bit different than your typical out-of-the-box implementations. We do a full range of branding from light colorizations to full range. You never knew it's SharePoint unless you dug under the hood kind of stuff. So we kind of do it all.
Okay, Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya Kaiser, also new to the SharePoint team. Been working with SharePoint for just under a year, and I am the admin for our internal SharePoint environment here at Rackspace. So a lot of the things that my team deals with, I see every day as well. They just happen to be, my customers are my fellow Rackers.
Okay, so already Ann asked a question in the chat window. Does enterprise mean 2013? No. So the features that I'm going to talk about today, audiences, has been around since SharePoint 2007, and it's on premises and it's in Office 365. It's just you have to have that enterprise license, not like the free version of SharePoint. Okay, so let's see, what does this little button do? I'm going to play with something in here. It says present to everyone. All right. I don't know if my little present to everyone button that I just clicked means that it's going to show my face while I'm sharing my screen, but we'll see. Maybe it'll do that. I actually did put together a little slideshow, a little bit. I just did it this morning, but it'll be okay. A little bit more about Power Hour is we love to have you guys come and ask questions during. So if you're watching this live, and you're on YouTube, you can click a little yellow button that will take you over to the Google Hangout, and the Google Hangout is where the Q&A panel exists. You're going to see a little button that looks like a group of squares towards the top right corner over in the Hangout, and you can click that, and it'll let you flip between two different apps. There's one that is like a showcase app, is where we can share links with you guys, and the other one is the Q&A app. So it looks like a little blue Q&A. So ask questions as we go. That's why we do it live. We enjoy getting feedback. Okay, thanks, Keith. It removed all my teammates' faces when I said that I was presenting to everyone. All right, they don't mind. They like to be able to like pick their nose or whatever they want to do. Just kidding. So thanks, Keith. All right, I'm going to do my demo on audiences today. Again, it's one of those things that they're kind of cool, and there are a couple good, useful reasons to use them, and there are a couple of ways to use them that exist that aren't as useful. So I'll go over all that. Okay, so let me see, audiences. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me share the correct screen in here. Okay, share. Okay, so you should just see my screen. All right, let me go ahead and do my presentation. That is so fancy. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. All right, thanks. And again, you guys in the same, in the room, feel free to shout out loud if there's a question, maybe I don't see it as I'm going, or if you guys have a question or feedback about some of this stuff. All right, audiences. All right, this presentation is very bare bones. Again, I just did it this morning, but I wanted to get some just of the points organized a little bit. What are audiences? Where are they used? And how do we define audiences in SharePoint? So this thing that I'm mainly talking about is global audiences. And when I start talking about Webparts and navigation, I'll start talking about a couple of other sort of types of audiences. But I'm mainly talking about global audiences and defining this thing called global audiences. And that is something that the server admin has to do. But again, it's one of those things that it would be good for the business people to sit down and put together the plan and just be able to have something that they can hand over and say, here, admin, this is what we would like to define as our audiences and why. Yeah, thanks, Keith. I'm being like very polished like Tavis with actually having a PowerPoint. Appreciate that. All right. Oh, thanks, Ann. Oh, yeah, and I've got to remember the screen resolution thing when I'm sharing my screen, too. I'll try and do that. All right, so I'm showing here two different ways to get to the audiences button, depending on whether you're on premises or Office 365. I think they both say manage audiences. So either way, you're going to the user profiles and you're going to click on manage audiences. And this is something, it's a dynamic group of people that runs. There's a timer job that just runs on a regular basis to compile these group of people. And the purpose of the group is to target content to them. Some examples of what you can have as audiences are going to be concepts like marketing, IT, maybe project managers, maybe any project managers, no matter what department they actually are in. Somebody with a specific role like doctors, accounting, sales. You have maybe a concept like corporate office versus field personnel. So those are just examples of types of audiences that you might want to define in your company, of course, depending on what type of company it is, what your business is. Where can audiences be used? Several different places, and again, I was going to say, a few of these are more useful than other ones. Promoted sites is the main. That's sort of my favorite reason to use audiences. That's the thing that I think I'm probably going to spend the most time on today. And there's also a concept called promoted links to client applications. We can target individual web parts to audiences. We can target navigation, like individual items in our navigation, to audiences. And publishing pages have an audience functionality. And then the content query rollup is a way to display certain content that's targeted to audiences. So let's see. I'm going to go into promoted sites first. And then I think I have some slides on actually how to. I'm going to go into promoted sites, and then I'm going to show you more about how to actually define audiences. Because once you see how cool this is, you'll kind of get more of a concept of why you would want to do this. So if you're on-prem, this is what it's going to look like at the top, where you have this little sites link. So those are promoted sites. So when you click on sites, that's the screen that you go to is your promoted sites. So let me go ahead and go over to the browser and show you that. All right, so I'll go ahead and go to on-premises here, and I go to sites. And if I am in Office 365, I can go to sites here. I can also do this little thing and I can pin it. So when I pin sites, I'll see a little SharePoint logo appear to go directly to my sites this way. So that's going to be, and I'll go ahead and just go to it over here in Office 365. So my VM and Office 365 are now in a race to see which one can like give me this page the fastest. There we go, Office 365 one. All right, this is the page where users are going to see sites that they're following. So if they went to just any web page and they click the little follow button at the top right, that's where they're going to see this, and it's a nice little just list of your sort of favorites in SharePoint that follows you wherever you go, and it'll suggest things to you. If you have not, if your environment, if you haven't created any promoted sites yet, then you're not going to see anything up at the top here. So this is my on-premises environment and a couple of promoted sites. So these are the promoted sites, and you'll notice that in Office 365, if you're an admin, you have this ability to manage the promoted sites, which means this is where one place where you can say, this is where I want to control the things that show up here for everyone. So the promoted sites up at the top are the things that the admin can define and say, we want everybody to see these big boxes up at the top. Of course, just like anything in any kind of intranet planning or intranet homepage, as soon as each department finds out that this is customizable, everybody thinks that their department's the most important and it needs to be seen on the homepage, right? Just like just like anything else. So a lot of the times they'll all like, hey, we need to be there. We need to be there. My link needs to be there. My project needs to be there. Everybody needs to see this. So the cool thing about promoted sites is that you can target them to audiences. So in Office 365, you'll notice you have this Manage button, and you can add a promoted site like this with a title, location, description, and a little background image. But if you do it this way, you're not getting the full functionality. So that's why I wanted to show you a better way to do this same thing in Office 365 is to go to the admin screen and do it, because you're going to get, that's where you're going to get the audiences. So don't click to manage the list from here and add a promoted site here. Let's go to the admin. So I'll show you how to manage that list of promoted sites, and then I'll show you how to create audiences while we're in there. All right, so in on-premises, it's in the user profiles, and in Office 365, it's in user profiles, either way. And on premises, it's you have to go to your service applications, and user profiles and properties is one of your service applications. And then this screen looks almost identical in whichever one you're in. So then I'm going to go to Manage Promoted Sites. So when I go here, I get a lot more functionality than I do in the other little Manage link. So now when I click New Link, you'll notice that I'm going to be able to target things to audiences when I create new links here. So for example, maybe we have a sales portal that has a lot of information that's relevant to salespeople. It's got things just really things that are important for them to know, announcements around sales, links to stuff in Salesforce, stuff that they do, like little announcements like, yay, this team did such and such amount of money this month, or something like that. But it's not something that everybody in the company is necessarily going to need to have as a main place that they go every day. It's really just for salespeople to collaborate and that kind of thing. So I can go HTTP, whatever it is, sales.concoso.com, or whatever your sales sub-site happens to be. So I'll go ahead and put a real one that exists in my in Office 365. So I'll just put like let's see. And now I have a subsite. I'm just really just putting an example of just some subsite I have, so that when I click on it, it'll go somewhere. So, and I'm just going to call this sales portal or dashboard or something like that. Sales portal. Sales hangout. I don't know where the salespeople are going to go. This is where salespeople go. All right, little information, and then the image URL is where you can actually have a URL that is in your SharePoint site that will be displayed as the logo. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to my main page. Let me open up another tab. Sorry. I'll go to my main page. Oh, and I forgot to do the my resolution thing for you guys to make it look a little bit better. Hold on a second. Hold on, let me do my screen resolution. So I realized that doing these presentations and showing it on YouTube has a much better resolution when it looks a lot better when you're looking at it later when it's like that. So, all right. Now, okay, cool. Now I just don't need to do that same zoom level that I have. Okay, so I need to go find an image to associate. If I don't already have one in SharePoint, I need to go upload one. So a lot of the times, and again, with images, you have to make sure that not only is it an image that you can find the correct URL to it, but people have to have read access to it. So if you point to an image that just everybody who needs to see it doesn't have permissions to it, they'll get a little red X, so they'll have a problem. So I need to go grab, I'm going to just use this little ugly charts thing. I'm going to go grab the URL to that. So that's the image that I want to show on my new little tile that I'm creating when I promote it. So I'll say promote a site, and I'll put the image URL as that. Just paste it in there. And then I can even have an owner, and that's the person that can manage that link. Have any of you experience like actually delegating this? Usually as the admin, I'm just the one that does this, so I never really worry about delegating it. Has anybody ever done this in the real world?
Not really. You usually just exactly like you're saying when you're creating it, you take ownership.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so here's where I do target audiences. I don't really have to have one, but I'll go ahead and create one in a minute and show you kind of what that could look like. And I'll show you in my on-premises, I have a whole bunch of users in AD, and I actually have a whole bunch of AD data that I have, much more than I have in my Office 365 tenant, so I might kind of be flipping back and forth. But this interface looks the same in both places. So you create your link, and then that's now a promoted link. And since I didn't target it to an audience, it's for everybody. So Keith said, so for on-prem is service applications accessed directly from the server. Yeah, that's in central admin and on-prem. So Keith, that's going to be central admin and service applications. And again, if you're not an admin, this is something you can decide what you want your audiences to be, and then go talk to your admin about getting those added. So that's where you're going to go to audiences like that, and that's also where you're going to go to manage promoted sites. And both things are in here. All right, so I'll just stay in here. This is my on-premises environment right here. So I'll manage promoted sites, and I'll show you like this marketing one. Okay, so notice that when I am logged in as me, I'm logged in as Laura, I'm not in marketing. So I'll show you the same little list of sites here, logged in as me, okay? Let me go back to my little zoom level. Good. Okay. So I see the Contoso homepage, and I see a community portal one that I listed here. But I don't see marketing. So marketing was one of the ones listed here. That's because it is targeted to the audience called marketing. All right, so that's where you can really like have a lot of links that you define and be able to, go through and really, fine tune it so you're targeting these specific links to whoever it matters to. That way, you're not overwhelming your users with a whole big long list of crap that they're never going to click on most of it. Yeah. So that's what that looks like. It's very simple. Again, title, description, URL, you can optionally put a picture, and you can optionally put an audience. So let's go see what an audience entails. All right, creating an audience. So I go to Manage Audiences. Again, it's Manage Audiences. It's in the exact same place under People in On-Prem and in Office 365. And this is where I would go define all my audiences. All right, so I only have, like by default, just all site users. I only have IT and marketing defined so far. And let's just go create a new audience. Maybe I want to create an audience of people that are in sales. So let's see, how would I do that? There's several different ways. If any of you happen to have this book that Todd and Shane wrote called Professional 2010 Administration, the chapter on social computing in SharePoint 2010, I wrote that chapter, and I wrote a whole big section in there on audiences and how to create them and audience targeting. I actually referenced that when I was trying to remember all the different places you can target them. I actually pulled that old book up because I was like, wait a minute, I've written something about audiences before, and so I went and dug that up. Okay, so you can delegate an owner to sales if you want to. Joelle, that's you. And so this is a sales audience. Spelled it wrong. Anne says only the tenant can create audiences. Global audiences, this concept that I'm showing first, that can only be done from Office 365 admin, from whoever's your SharePoint admin in Office 365 or your SharePoint admin in on-premises. Does that make sense? You have to be able to get to that little admin button if you're talking about. I don't know if you're talking about on-prem or.
In Office 365, the permission level you have to be able to do that would be a global admin. There is no actual SharePoint admin role in Office 365. It's something that has been needed, since it rolled out, but it hasn't been implemented. But the global admin is the permission level you'd need to have in your Office 365 account in order to be able to create these global audiences in Office 365.
Thanks, Kevin. Jason, did you have anything you were going to add? I couldn't tell.
I actually was going to mention the fact that they actually did just roll out the delegated admin model.
Finally, yay!
In Office 365, Kevin, that one's really recent, and we haven't talked about it yet. So that has been the case for a long time, where it was only the global admin that was able to do it. Now there are delegated admin roles that it may not be in your tenant yet, but that is something that is starting to roll out. That's if you go out to roadmap.office365.com, I believe is the link, you can see all the different, roadmap.office.com. You can see all of the things that are rolling out into the tenants at this point, and that is one of those things that I believe that is in the launch category and is the or potentially might even be in the rolling out category. I'm not exactly sure. I'll figure that out real quick though.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So if you're in Office 365, your tenant may have it and may not. So that's good. Good to know. But yes, these global audiences that I'm talking about right now are only done in one place at the admin level, but we're going to talk about another concept in a little bit about the ability to use like SharePoint groups for some of this stuff, not all of it. All right, so I'm creating an audience. Now I have to use some logic here when I'm creating my audience. So I'm about to create some rules. Of course, it's kind of confusing the way it asks you ahead of time if you don't necessarily know what the rules are yet. So do you want the people in this audience to have to satisfy all the rules or any of the rules? So I'm just going to click any, and then I'll show you what the heck that means. All right, so now it takes me straight to this page where I'm creating a rule. So rules are going to be something that I define once, and then the audiences dynamically get created. So audiences are not like SharePoint groups where you have to go remember to add and remove people from them. Audiences are something that are dynamic, so you can create define these different properties and things, and then people will automatically appear in the correct audience. So you have the first couple of things that you can do is you can say user reports under a certain specific person. that's like the very first default thing you see there, and that is really not going to be a best practice because of attrition. You know, people could come and go, and then the person they report under doesn't exist anymore, and then that audience rule would not be that pertinent. So I wouldn't necessarily use that because that could change. So one thing you can do is just you can say they're a member of a certain Active Directory group. So I'll say sales. Let me see if that's a group I have. I think it is. No, I don't. I'll do this one called IT. See if I have an IT group. Information technology. And these are going to be Active Directory groups right here that it's looking for. So I can say one rule is that the user is a member of this certain group. I'm not going to do that one. I'm just going to show you some different options in here. Another way I can do a rule is by property, and this is where I think is a lot more useful than those other two that were under the user category. This is where you have a whole bunch of different options you have. So job title, it contains or not contains. So this is sales, and look at that. It's tapping right into my manage metadata there. So job title contains sales. If I want to, that's under my general business taxonomy right there. So I'll go ahead and click OK because this is the sales audience. And I can add another rule. Or property department contains sales. So again, I'll just pick that one. So you can see that I have all these different possible. I can add many different rules here to say anyone who falls under any of these values is going to automatically end up in this audience. So I can say property, I don't know, ask me about, no, not peers, ask me about contains sales. So all kinds of things, pretty much anything having to do with sales anywhere, you know, in all these properties, that person's going to be considered sales. And then in on-premises, I can go ahead and compile my audience. I think that since this is a timer job, I don't think that you can click the compile audience in Office 365. Jason, I don't know if that's something that you can see, like off the top of your head. But it runs on a timer job, so you might have to just wait till the next timer job runs if you're Office 365. But look at that. It says number of members 2. So I can go view my membership. Of course, this is just my VM, my test VM, so I don't have like a whole ton of people in here. But look at that. Now it shows me that Greg Chapman and Chris Johnson, good old CJ, those are in my sales audience. Chris Johnson was one of those generic users. It was in that list of all the Microsoft generic user accounts that you're allowed to use when you write books. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about. So his name was in that list. So he's in all kinds of VMs and stuff that I have. So now it's showing me who dynamically, automatically got added to this this audience. So now I'm going to go. It's kind of hard. It's kind of weird and clunky drilling around in here to get back to where I was from anywhere in the user profile. It's kind of stupid. So I went ahead and just created a shortcut right over here on my home page in Central Admin that just takes me straight there. So now I can go back in and manage audiences, and I can see sales is in here, and I can go edit it later, compile it on the fly, go view my membership. You know, I can click edit, and then as soon as I click, this always does this, by the way, as soon as I click OK, then it takes me to the page where I have all the rules, and I can go add more rules and things like that from here. All right, so I'm going to click back a couple of times. So does that make sense about how to create audiences and that they're dynamic? Hopefully I made that clear. So then again, people just automatically appear there. Okay, so now I've got my audience that exists. So now I'm going to go back to manage promoted sites, and I can create a promoted link. Let's see, where is my sales portal? Let me see, do I have one?
Reiterate that the individual site owner and the process, but it's good to know what kind of criteria can be filtered on to get those audiences. So I think that was a really good presentation.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. And again, remember, I set mine to say satisfies any of the rules. They can have it in their job title. They can have it in their department name. They can have it in their, ask me about. But you could make it so it's more restrictive. So they would have to satisfy all the rules. They're a member of a certain Active Directory group, and they have this word in their job title, and they have this word in their department name. And then you'd have less people in that group if you made it more where they had to satisfy all the rules to be considered to be part of that group. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to target. I don't feel like creating a subsite right now, so I'm going to create a. I'm just going to grab some hyperlink here and just target that to the salespeople just for fun. So I save that URL, and I'm going to say sales portal. And then this is for salespeople. And I did the exact same thing just now in Office 365, and I showed you how you could go put the URL there, put an owner on it, and here's the magic part where you go to sales and target it to that global audience. Let me see if it'll let me save it without an owner. No. Nah. There, whatever. Okay, so now I have all these audiences, and if I log into SharePoint as Chris Johnson, then he'll be able to see the sales. So let me go do that real quick.
One thing there is until it is compiled, the first line might not show as a audience.
Say that again. You're choppy. I don't know if it's because of me. Is he choppy to everybody?
That you went about it really quick, but until the audiences, that particular audiences is compiled at least the first time, it may not show up as a valid choice.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Let me go back over there. Manage audiences. Okay. And it shows when they last got compiled right there, too. Okay. Let me go open my site, log in as him. I'm just going to open it in a different browser. Okay, so now I'm logged in as me, Laura. I'm going to go to Sites. Now I still only see those two that aren't targeted to an audience. And now I'm going to log in as Chris Johnson. And just to show you that he can see that. Oh, he's never been to his homepage before, so it's taking a second. Don't you love that? We're almost ready. So I'm using somebody in my demo I've never actually used in a demo before, apparently. So it's gonna be like the cooking show where I get it started and then we'll have to go check back and see how that dish did in a minute. All right. Okay, so that's the concept of global audiences in just one way that I can go define them. There's another thing, and I've got another slide on this concept called Manage Promoted Sites, and there's also, so this is the one I just showed you, and then there's published links to Office client applications. That's going to be right in that same area with promoted sites. It doesn't work that well. My experience with this was that it worked better with previous versions of the Office client, but it's supposed to put a location in the client software that, like when they click File Open or File Save As, you're actually creating SharePoint, defining SharePoint URLs, just like with promoted sites, but it's supposed to push them out to be in everyone's client applications, and they can be targeted to audiences. So that way, you want everyone in accounting to say when they click File Open, it automatically is going to have their accounting SharePoint site as somewhere where they can drill in and start saving stuff without having to go to the browser and go to SharePoint. This, in my experience, it has worked a lot better when the person has at least been to SharePoint one time. So the first time you go to SharePoint, it adds all this additional stuff in your registry on your own computer having to do with SharePoint. And if it's a new computer, if it's a new user and they've never been to SharePoint, there's a lot of stuff they don't see in the client application, like on the Save As screen and stuff like that, if they've never been to one. So this seems to work the best when they've actually been to SharePoint. Here's one, and Lori and I are doing a whole presentation at SP TechCon SBTechCon regarding a lot of these like admin type functionalities like this that only admins can do, but it's really useful for the rest of you, for the business, even if you're not an admin, to know that they're there. And these are just a couple of those things. So this is actually a slide from that presentation. You can create, when you push links to Office client applications, you can create, there are a few different types of links that lets you create. And there's one called custom template, that's like a custom template location, where you can say this is a specific document library that has a whole bunch of content types in it that my company uses as templates. So these templates they've been created as content types, and this library has got them all in there. I could say point this to this as the common template library, and that way when people open up Word, it's actually going to show here. It's going to say your company, you know, whatever you called it, your company templates, when you go to create a new file, and that will actually let you pick from your company's templates from here, and it's coming straight from SharePoint. So it's a really cool concept. I mean, I think it's awesome. People don't have to know where to go. They don't have to go to SharePoint. They don't have to go to the browser. Hardly anybody uses this, and it's just always been a little clunky. Has anybody in this room ever implemented this or used it, or any comments about that?
Not in the client application for me, no. I've done it where you go to new and you have your templates there in a document library, but I've never done it quite this way.
Cool. All right.
It's very neat stuff.
And Keith asks if he can use this to filter what fields a user can see based on their properties. No, not really. No, not down to the field level. I'll show a couple of other ways we can use audiences though. So I'm going to move on. I'll go back over real quick to that screen in case you want to test that out in your environment and just try this thing that I'm talking about. So I'll go back to the user profile service and click Publish Links to Office Client Applications right here. And this is the one that I created called Templates. So I created a document library and just called it Templates. And again, these aren't files in the library. They are content types being used in that library. And so we have other Power Hours that we've done all about what the heck content types are, if you need to look at that further. But, so there are different types of these published links you can do. So this one is called Document Library with Template Synchronization, which is what puts it in that little screenshot I showed you, like when someone goes to create a new Word document. And you can target these to audiences. So if like my accounting audience needs to see certain accounting templates, marketing needs to see certain templates, I can target all those. And I'll show you what it looks like when you create a new one. You can see I have different types. So I haven't tested every single one of these different types as to what it would do differently. I know that a team site is going to be a good place to just kind of get them started out so they have that look and feel of being able to drill down and save something in SharePoint and pick a library, kind of like they're saving something in a file system if they start from the site level. And then you could get down to, so team site and document library are the most common ones that I've seen used in here. But again, that's supposed to put it in the client applications. I encourage you guys to, if you have like a test environment with client computers at your company, try that out. It's definitely going to work the best when you've got, I think it's going to work the best when you're on premises and you're using Active Directory and you're logging into everyone's logging into the same domain. I just think this concept is going to work better in that situation. But yeah, this is one of those ones that over the years I've tried and tested it, and I really, really wanted to be something useful and dependable and understand exactly what it's doing and how it works. And it seems cool, but it's always just been a little frustrating to me. So that's that. And let me go back to my slides and see what else I had for that one. All right. There's also an audience targeting setting. So every list and library has a little checkbox that you can just basically turn this on or not, which adds a new field to every single individual item in that list or library to target that item to an audience. Again, an audience is not security, so and it's not going to apply when someone's just looking at that list of items just in the regular list view. that audience is only going to work, it's only going to do anything when you've targeted items in a list or library to audiences, and then you're viewing them through the content query web part. So it's a very specific scenario to where that one would work. So I'll go ahead and spend the rest of the next 20 minutes demoing the different places that we can go use audiences. So I'll go ahead and go back to my home page here, and I'll show you the setting that I'm talking about and the content query web part that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to an announcements list, and I'm going to say announcements are really just kind of the best scenario I can think of where target audiences would probably be maybe a little bit useful. So let me just go find announcements real quick somewhere on my demo site. Just go grab an announcements list. Okay, so I've got HR announcements. So I'll show you what the setting is. So I'll go to my list settings over here, and audience targeting. Jason, this does exist in Office 365 still in lists and libraries, right? I don't know if it's something they haven't gotten rid of that. All right.
To my knowledge, they have not.
Okay, you never know. All right, so it's a box that you check, or it's unchecked by default. So looks like I probably demoed this before. So I enable audience targeting for that specific list or library. So you could go to maybe all of your announcements lists that you have in a site or in a site collection, and turn on this audience targeting. So what that does is gives you the ability to, it gives you a new piece of metadata to fill out. So this is one place where you can have 3 different types of target audiences, not just the global ones. So when you go to pick a target audience for an item or a web part or navigation, it's going to give you 3 different things to pick from. Global audiences, those are those ones that we've been talking about most of the time that we define from central admin. So that's going to be like that sales one that we just defined. So I can go say I want the salespeople to see this. All right, there's also distribution or security groups. That's going to be Active Directory groups that are email enabled, and then SharePoint groups. So promoted sites and published links to Office applications cannot use SharePoint groups or AD groups directly, and a global audience has to be defined, but a lot of these things like web parts and individual items targeting to audiences, you can use AD groups and SharePoint groups too. So hopefully for some of you who are watching who might not have the ability to go to central admin or do any of that stuff, you'll be able to do some of this other stuff. All right, so I'll say I want to target this announcement to sales, and then I want to make another announcement. This is
what you just make your names from any group or Active Directory group. Otherwise, basically, if you have say an Active Directory group named Sales, and then you create an audience named Sales, when you go to click the Resolve button there, it will not distinguish between the two, and it will either give you an error because there's no unique name, or it will drop down a menu and asking you to choose. And if the audience is wider than just the group, then you may not be quite sure which one you're supposed to pick. So you might want to make sure that whenever you request a global audience to be created, that you request it to have a maybe sales audience instead of sales, so it's a unique name.
Oh, awesome! Great tidbit there. I like that. So this one I targeted to sales. So I'm just going to change the verbiage here real quick. And then if I don't, so I can not target things to audiences. I'm going to say IT announcement stuff about. So you could go through here and target, every single announcement list maybe in SharePoint, and target every single individual announcement to a certain group of people. Announcement, hold on, technology. Let's see if I have, there we go, whatever. Okay, so now I've just got 3 announcements that are targeted. Each individual list item is targeted to an audience. Notice that as just, again, looking at the regular list view, audiences have absolutely no effect. And audiences are also really hard to deal with in anything in a workflow. I've tried that before to create a workflow that will, according to this, fill in the audience field with this or that. That has never worked out. So again, content query web part is a big pain in the butt because, especially compared to the new cool content search web part, because it's rendering all and rolling up all that information right when each user hits the page. It's querying all the data right then. So it is not the most efficient web part. But I just want to show you this is the only place that that little audience field in your lists and libraries matters, is when you're rolling the data up and showing it in a content query web part. So I'll just show you what that setting looks like real quick. So I can say query everything in the site collection, this list type, announcements, and then all content types, apply audience filtering. And then if they're not targeted, do I want to show them, if they're not targeted, just show them anyway. I can do that. And then, of course, I can add more different ways I want it to look. And let's see, I like the bulleted title display. So now I'm going to be rolling up all announcements from this whole site collection into this one content query web part. And like I said, the more stuff you have rolling up in a content query web part, the longer it takes to save and for it to render. So I'm in the IT audience, so it shows me the IT announcement. I'm just going to ignore whatever that error is over there. So it shows me the IT announcement. Notice that it doesn't show me the sales announcement and the marketing announcement. So that was the main thing I wanted to show you, is that that's where that audience functionality matters. So I'll go ahead and just save that. May or may not give me an error, whatever. Okay. So then another place that we can do our audience targeting is per web parts. Now this one you don't want to necessarily go crazy with, because when you're putting a bunch of web parts on a page, they still exist on the page, no matter what, even if they're targeted to just specific audiences. So if you have 20 different audiences and you have 20 different separate web parts targeted to each individual audience, each person still might just see maybe one web part, but it's still affecting the performance of the whole page loading whenever you do this, whenever you have a whole bunch of web parts on a page. So notice this, and whenever we did our entire Power Hour about web part settings, this is something that is in the web part tool pane. It's in the advanced section right here in all of your web parts, and you can target that one web part to a specific audience of people. And that can be a global audience, or a SharePoint group, or an AD group that's email enabled. So I'll just say like project managers. I think I have one called project managers. So that's a SharePoint group. So now only the people that are in the project managers group are going to be able to see it. So let's see, I guess I'm in the project manager. Even you as the admin, like working on this page, you're not going to see it. So that's another one of the negatives to it, is that even when you're trying to help people out and doing troubleshooting with them and trying to go look at the page they're seeing, you as the admin, you're not even going to see things that are targeted to an audience that you're not in. But apparently I'm in the project manager group. Let me go change that and then see what happens. So I'll go.
Where that question mark contents equals 1 comes in really handy at the end of your URL.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll go look at that too. So project managers. No, I don't want to edit the group. I want to go edit who's in it. Take me out of here. Okay, and then as soon as I go back to this page, I think that let me see. Was it this web part that I was targeting? I think it was. No, wait, it was this. Was it this thing right here? Anyway, God, so weird. Let me double check that. So once I go into page edit mode, it should show me the things that I targeted to groups that I'm not in. I've also seen, oh yeah, this one doesn't have a target audience. What did I do? I think I tried to check it in and it lost my changes. That's what happened. Can y'all read that question out to me while I do this real quick? Deborah's question.
Go ahead.
There. Now I don't see it because I'm not in the project manager group anymore. Okay, go ahead.
So you want me to read the question from Deborah, right?
Yeah.
All right, this is interesting. Unfortunately, I deal with buffering problems when watching the videos. Just want you to know why I sign off during, not because the information you share is not interesting. Thanks again. I'll catch this later.
Thanks. Thanks, Deborah. Hopefully that's not my, the recording is not going to get messed up and it's just maybe hopefully it's just while it's live. Hopefully you guys will let us know if you have problems even watching it later or anything like that. All right, thanks. Okay, so notice that I'm not in the audience, so I don't see the web part. This has nothing to do with security. Nothing to do with security. And when I go back into edit the web page, then it will appear and then I'll be able to edit it. No, wait a minute. I hate wiki pages so much, y'all. Have I ever told you how much I hate wiki pages? Things just disappear on me. I prefer webpart pages much more to wiki pages. Webpart pages don't do this to you, by the way. See, I think that was actually another webpart that I targeted to an audience and it just completely disappeared. Yeah, I hate that so much. All right, don't get me started. So, Jason, what were you saying? Contents equal...
Yeah, throw question mark, contents equals 1.
And how do you fix broken...
How
do you fix web parts that get randomly disappear off the page when you're using wiki page?
That's very easy. Don't use wiki pages. That's my only answer to that one, Laura.
So much. So there's a setting in your site features, everyone, called wiki page homepage, and you can actually deactivate that, and that would make your wiki page a web part page instead. And also when you use the projects, the new project site template, when you create pages, this uses web part pages and not wiki pages. Just a little side note there. Okay, another place that we can use audiences is going to be in our navigation. And again, our navigation is going to be automatically security trimmed based on permissions, but you can still, and again, audiences are not permissions, but you can still, if you have publishing features turned on, you can go through here and target individual items in the navigation to audiences of people. So usually I just like to say, well, if they don't have access to the marketing site, they're just not going to see it and we're good. But you might have things that maybe everybody does have access to for some reason, and you want to just trim down who is going to see that, that link in the nav. So I'll just pick something in here, a little folder here. I click edit, and then again, publishing features have to be turned on at the site collection level to be able to have this interface. But here's again where I can go target that specific little folder to an audience of people. Some of you hate the little recent thing that it puts, you know, on your site whenever you create, you know, as you create lists and libraries. A little trick that Andy figured out a while back was that you can go target your recent, the whole folder, to an audience that has no one in it. So this audience is just empty. But I targeted recent to an audience that no one is in, and that way even if it get recreated every time I add new things to my site, I never see recent here. So that's just one little sort of trick, a little tidbit of a way that you could use audiences just to be able to hide something. I've had one little advanced thing that I did with an audience once where I had a web part on the page that it was just a content editor web part, and all it did was it had a redirect to another page, but I hid that content editor web part so that it only affected a certain audience. You know, I targeted it to an audience, so when you hit the home page, only that certain audience of people got redirected to that special other page immediately. And so you could have different functionality like that, so you can have, go add different pages in SharePoint, and then technically you could have a way of, depending on what audience is, you see a different home page. I know there's programmers have better, more efficient ways of doing that I've seen them write special solutions to do something like that. But that's another way you could accomplish that. But yeah. Anything else, y'all? Anything fun any of y'all have done with audiences in our last 5 minutes? That little tricks or anything?
Audience targeting launch and target the same thing. Not if you manage navigation. Those links will not be audience targeted.
Okay, so Kevin's saying you're a little choppy, but you're saying that if you do manage metadata navigation, you can't target the links to audiences, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Laura, the mic in your is picking up the volume, because I noticed whenever Kevin's talking or Jason were talking, I could see it on yours. So for some reason, maybe they're a little louder than the rest of us on their mic. I don't know.
We are loud.
No, it's probably just volume turned up. Mine's pretty low.
One little buggy thing I found out with audience is that I had a whole bunch of them. I had a whole bunch of SharePoint groups I'd created, and then a lot of them had similar names, like VP of Marketing, VP of IT, and a lot of they had similar names. And then it got to the point where there's so many SharePoint groups. I don't know why it hit this threshold, but all of a sudden then, as I try to target Webparts to audiences, it just would not resolve the SharePoint group names anymore. And I had to go back and actually change the SharePoint group names to put underscores or something in them when they had spaces. So it was the only the ones that had spaces in the names that it got really confused when it was trying to resolve them when there was just a large quantity of them. Another just a little buggy thing that I saw.
I've run into some problems in the past. I've had some customers who decided they wanted to audience the heck out of an intranet, and literally put 50 web parts on a page and audienced everything to the nth degree. And it sounds like a phenomenal idea. I can have one page that everybody hits and they only see what they're supposed to see. Problem with that is the performance implication that has of everything having to load, and then it loads in the background and it decides what it's going to show you. That tends to get really doggy. So I want to make sure that we don't want to give people the wrong impression that audiencing is a phenomenal way to go in certain situations. That one is a really bad thing to do, though. So
yeah, definitely. And if you're having performance issues with a page at any point, and this is an admin thing, but there's it's called the developer dashboard, but it's not just for programmers. There's something you can use a PowerShell script to enable what's called the developer dashboard, and it's a little special. It puts a little special link that you can click, and it'll show you a dashboard of the performance of whatever page you're on, and the number of web parts, the time that they take to load, and things like that for troubleshooting those sort of things. But yeah, definitely don't go bonkers with audiences on one page because it's all still loading, but maybe do just kind of here and there. Another thing that I didn't talk about yet with audiences was pages in a pages library. So if you have, let me see, I don't know if I have any pages libraries in here. If you have if you're using publishing in SharePoint and you're using pages libraries, I don't have this right now. Oh, wait, here it is. Your pages that you create are actually going to have an audience targeting box in them by default as some of the metadata. And again, that's going to be something that affects when you roll up those article pages into a content query web part. Then that lets you target the pages themselves to audiences. That way, so maybe you could have just, if you like Jason's concept of having 50 web parts on a page and having them all targeted to audiences, maybe have just a list of links in a content query web part, links to other pages, and just other pages in a pages library, and then people would only see the links that apply to them for them to go to the dashboard for that department or whatever. And then instead of just dumping everything onto one page, you're still targeting some content, but it's not, to that degree. So, and apparently wiki pages spaz out when you target web parts to audiences and they disappear. So, FYI.
If you're looking for a way to turn on Developer Dashboard, I wrote some code that's out there on my blog. The PowerShell code to do all of that is out there as well. So.
Okay, what's your blog site?
SharePointLonghorn.com.
All right, cool. Well, it is time to stop. Thanks everybody for coming. That was a fun one. Audiences have always been something that I felt like has been a little mysterious to people, like they really weren't sure what they were or where you set them up or how to use them. But I think, again, the promoted sites concept is my favorite, just concept for using audiences. But I just wanted to show you guys just kind of all the different ways, but, in everything in moderation, right? So thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you next week. Bye.